our body reacts to the different inputs it gets from the surroundings due to the nervous system. The nervous system is a part of an animal's body that coordinates its voluntary and involuntary actions. It transmits signals to and from different parts of its body in response to a stimulus. A stimulus can be mechanical, chemical, electrical or thermal. In the vertebrate species, the nervous system consists of two main parts, the central nervous system CNS and the peripheral nervous system PNS. The CNS contains the brain and spinal cord. The PNS consists mainly of nerves, which are enclosed bundles of the long fibers or axons that connect the CNS to every other part of the body. Nerves that transmit signals from the brain are called motor or efferent nerves, while those nerves that transmit information from the body to the CNS are called sensory or afferent nerves. Most nerves serve both functions and are called mixed nerves. At the cellular level, the nervous system is defined by the presence of a special type of cell called the neuron, also known as a nerve cell. Neurons have special structures that allow them to send signals rapidly and precisely to other cells. They send these signals in the form of electrochemical waves traveling along thin fibers called axons, which causes chemicals called neurotransmitters to be released at junctions called synapses. A cell that receives a synaptic signal from a neuron may be excited, inhibited or otherwise modulated. Neurons are electrically excitable cells. In brief, they are composed of one or more dendrites, a single soma, a single axon and one or more axon terminals. Dendrites are cellular projections whose primary function is to receive synaptic signals. The dendrites extend from the soma, which houses the nucleus and many of the eukaryotic organelles. The surface of the soma is populated by voltage activated ion channels. These channels help transmit the signals generated by the dendrites. Emerging out from the soma is the axon hillock. This region is characterized by having a very high concentration of voltage activated sodium channels. Immediately after the axon hillock is the axon. This is a thin tubular protrusion traveling away from the soma. The axon is insulated by a myelin sheath. Myelin is composed of either Schwann cells in the peripheral nervous system or oligodendrocytes in the central nervous system, both of which are types of glial cells. Although glial cells are not involved with the transmission of electrical signals, they communicate and provide important biochemical support to neurons. Myelin wraps multiple times around the axonal segment, forming a thick fatty layer that prevents ions from entering or escaping the axon. However, due to this insulation, no channels can be present on the surface of the axon. There are therefore regularly spaced patches of membrane which have no insulation. They are called as nodes of Romvi. Their purpose is to boost the signal in order to prevent significant signal decay. At the furthest end, the axon loses its insulation and begins to branch out into several axon terminals. These presynaptic terminals or synaptic boutons are a specialized area within the axon of the presynaptic cell that contains neurotransmitters enclosed in small membrane bound spheres called synaptic vesicles. All cells in animal body tissues are electrically polarized. In other words, they maintain a voltage difference across the cell's plasma membrane known as the membrane potential. It is a difference in total charge between the inside and outside of the cell. This electrical polarization results from a complex interplay between protein structures embedded in the membrane called ion pumps and ion channels. In neurons, the types of ion channels in the membrane usually vary across different parts of the cell, giving the dendrites, axon and cell body different electrical properties. As a result, some parts of the membrane of a neuron may be excitable, that is capable of generating action potentials, whereas others are not. The most excitable part of a neuron is the part after the axon hillock, but the axon and cell body are also excitable in most cases. Resting membrane potential. For quiescent cells, the relatively static membrane potential is known as the resting membrane potential. The resting membrane potential is at equilibrium since it relies on the constant expenditure of energy for its maintenance. It is maintained by the potassium ions as it has the greatest conductance across the membrane. The resting potential of a neuron is negatively charged at -70 millivolts, as the inside of a cell is approximately 70 millivolts more negative than the outside. This number varies by neuron type and by species. The difference in the number of positively charged potassium ions inside and outside the cell dominates the resting membrane potential. When the membrane is at rest, K+ ions accumulate inside the cell due to a net movement along the concentration gradient. Thus, negative resting membrane potential is created. This is maintained by increasing the concentration of Na+ outside the cell, that is, within the extracellular fluid relative to inside the cell, that is, in the cytoplasm. This movement of K+ and Na+ ions is regulated by sodium-potassium pumps. These pumps bring 2 K+ ions into the cell while removing 3 Na+ ions per ATP consumed. As more cations are expelled from the cell than are taken in, the inside of the cell remains negatively charged relative to the extracellular fluid. Thus, the action of sodium-potassium pumps helps to maintain the resting potential. Action potential. When a stimulus is applied to a neuron, a brief reversal of the membrane potential occurs, lasting about a millisecond. This brief reversal is called the action potential. This involves an explosion of electrical activity where the resting membrane potential of nerve and muscle cells changes. The formation of an action potential can be divided into various steps. A stimulus from a sensory cell or another neuron causes the target cell to depolarize towards the threshold potential. If the threshold of the excitation is reached, all Na+ channels open and the membrane depolarizes. At the peak of action potential, K+ channels open and K+ begins to leave the cell. At the same time, Na+ channels close. This is repolarization. The membrane becomes hyperpolarized as K+ ions continue to leave the cell. The hyperpolarized membrane is in a refractory period and cannot fire. The K+ channels close and the Na+ K+ pumps restores the resting potential. Depolarization. When neurotransmitter molecules bind to receptors located on a neuron's dendrites, voltage-gated ion channels open. At excitatory synapses, positive ions flood the interior of the neuron and depolarize the membrane, decreasing the difference in voltage between the inside and outside of the neuron. A stimulus from a sensory cell or another neuron depolarizes the target neuron to its threshold potential -55 millivolts and Na+ channels in the axon hillock open, starting an action potential. Once the sodium channels open, the neuron completely depolarizes to a membrane potential of about +40 millivolts. The action potential travels down the neuron as the sodium channels open. Repolarization. After the inside of the cell becomes flooded with Na+, the gated ion channels on the inside of the membrane open to allow the K+ to move to the outside of the membrane. With K+ moving to the outside, the membrane's repolarization restores electrical balance, although it is opposite of the initial polarized membrane that had Na+ on the outside and K+ on the inside. Just after the K+ gates open, the Na+ gates close, otherwise the membrane could not repolarize. Hyperpolarization. When the K+ gates finally close, the neuron has slightly more K+ on the outside than it has Na+ on the inside. This causes the membrane potential to drop slightly lower than the resting potential. The membrane is said to be hyperpolarized because it has a greater potential. However, this period does not last long. After the impulse has travelled through the neuron, the action potential is over and the cell membrane returns to normal, that is the resting potential. Refractory period. The refractory period is when the Na plus and K plus are returned to their original sides, Na plus on the outside and K plus on the inside. While the electrical status of the neuron is returning to normal, it does not respond to any incoming stimuli. After the Na plus K plus pumps return the ions to the rightful side of the neuron's cell membrane, the neuron is back to its normal polarized state and stays in the resting potential until another impulse comes along. All or none rule. The action potential only occurs if the stimulus causes enough sodium ions to enter the cell to change the membrane potential to a certain threshold level. At the threshold, sodium gates open in the membrane and allow a sudden flood of sodium ions to enter the cell. If the depolarization is not great enough to reach the threshold, then an action potential will not be produced and hence there is no impulse. This is called the all or none rule. This means that the ion channels are either open or closed. Thus, the action potential always reaches plus 40 millivolts as it moves along an axon, and it is never attenuated or reduced by long axons. Action potential are always the same size. However, the frequency of the impulse carrying the information can determine the intensity of the stimulus, that is, strong stimulus equals to high frequency. In order to enable fast and efficient transduction of electrical signals in the nervous system, certain neuronal axons are covered with myelin sheaths. Myelin is a multilamellar membrane that enwraps the axon in segments. These segments are separated by intervals of unmyelinated regions known as nodes of Ronvi. Myelin is produced by specialized cells, Schwann cells exclusively in the peripheral nervous system and oligodendrocytes exclusively in the central nervous system. Myelin sheath reduces membrane capacitance and increases membrane resistance in the internode intervals, thus allowing a fast saltatory movement of action potentials from node to node. Not all neurons in vertebrates are myelinated. For example, axons of the neurons comprising the autonomous nervous system are generally not myelinated. Myelin prevents ions from entering or leaving the axon along myelinated segments. Action potentials cannot propagate through the membrane in myelinated segments of the axon. Instead, the ionic current from an action potential at one node of Ronvi provokes another action potential at the next node. Thus, the action potential jumps from one node to the next. This jumping of the action potential from one node to node is known as saltatory conduction. If nodes of Ronvi were not present along an axon, as an unmyelinated neuron, the action potential will propagate very slowly. Na plus and K plus channels would have to continuously regenerate action potentials at every point along the axon. Hence, nodes of Ronvi also save energy for the neuron, since the channels only need to be present at the nodes and not along the entire axon. As a general rule, myelination increases the conduction velocity of action potentials and makes them more energy efficient. Synapses are fluid-filled junctional complexes between presynaptic membranes, that is synaptic knobs, and postsynaptic membranes, that is receptor surfaces of recipient neurons. The communication between neurons is unidirectional. It means that the nerve impulse travels from synaptic knob to a recipient neuron's dendrite or soma, thus the prefixes pre and post. The space between the presynaptic and postsynaptic membrane is called as synaptic cleft. Synaptic knobs contain many membrane-bound synaptic vesicles, 40 to 100 nanometers in diameter. Synaptic vesicles are filled with neurotransmitter molecules. Neurotransmitters are small molecules that may open ion channels in the postsynaptic cell. Most axons have the same neurotransmitter at all of their termini. Common neurotransmitters include acetylcholine, dopamine, norepinephrine or noradrenaline, and serotonin. There are different types of synapses. They are named according to their location on the postsynaptic neuron. Axodendritic synapses are on shafts of dendrites. Axosomatic synapses are on the soma of neurons. Axonal synapses are on synapses on other synaptic knobs. Axospinous synapses are synapses on dendritic spines. Neuromuscular junctions are synapses on skeletal muscle cells. Synaptic transmission is a process whereby one neuron communicates with other neurons or effectors such as a muscle cell at a synapse. At the synaptic knob, the action potential is converted into a chemical message which in turn interacts with the recipient neuron or effector. This chemical message is in the form of release of neurotransmitters into the synaptic cleft. A synaptic delay of 1 or 2 milliseconds occurs between the arrival of the action potential and the neurotransmitter release. Action potentials open calcium channels in the membrane of the synaptic knob. This causes an inward movement of calcium ions. The calcium ions trigger the fusion of synaptic vesicles with the presynaptic membrane. This leads to release of neurotransmitters from synaptic vesicles into the synaptic cleft. Released neurotransmitters diffuse across a narrow synaptic cleft. At the postsynaptic membrane, neurotransmitter molecules bind to their specific receptors present on the postsynaptic membrane. The membranes of old vesicles become part of the presynaptic membrane and new vesicles pinch off from an adjacent area of membrane. These new vesicles are subsequently refilled with newly synthesized or recycled neurotransmitters. The specific binding of neurotransmitters on their receptors triggers a receptor-specific response in the postsynaptic neuron. These responses can be either excitatory or inhibitory. In some cases, the change makes the target cell more likely to fire its own action potential. In this case, the shift in membrane potential is called an excitatory postsynaptic potential (EPSP). In other cases, the change makes the target cell less likely to fire an action potential and is called an inhibitory postsynaptic potential (IPSP). An EPSP is depolarizing. It makes the inside of the cell more positive, bringing the membrane potential closer to its threshold for firing an action potential. Sometimes, a single EPSP isn't large enough to bring the neuron to threshold, but it can sum together with other EPSPs to trigger an action potential. Inhibitory postsynaptic potentials (IPSPs) have the opposite effect, that is, they tend to keep the membrane potential of the postsynaptic neuron below threshold for firing an action potential. IPSPs are important because they can counteract or cancel out the excitatory effects of EPSPs. If neurotransmitters were continuously present in the synaptic cleft, the postsynaptic channels would be continually stimulated and the membrane potential would not be able to become stable. Thus, there are three ways in which neurotransmitter is deactivated. Reuptake. The neurotransmitter can re-enter the presynaptic cell through channels in the membrane. Degradation. Enzymes located in the synaptic cleft break down the neurotransmitter into a substance which has no effect on the receptor channel. Autoreceptors. Receptors for a particular neurotransmitter are located on the presynaptic membrane. These receptors act like a thermostat. When there is too much neurotransmitter released in the synapse, it decreases the release of further neurotransmitter when the action potential arrives at the presynaptic membrane. It is done by decreasing the number of calcium channels that open when the next action potential arrives at the presynaptic terminal. A special case of a chemical synapse is a neuromuscular junction in which the axon of a motor neuron terminates on a muscle fiber. In such cases, the released neurotransmitter is acetylcholine ACH. It is released by neurons in both the peripheral nervous system PNS and the central nervous system CNS in many organisms including humans. Electrical stimulation of the neuron results in release of acetylcholine that can stimulate muscles such as skeletal muscle, smooth muscle and cardiac tissue. Acetylcholine functions to contract skeletal muscles and slows the heartbeat. The release of acetylcholine by presynaptic neuron and its effect on postsynaptic neuron is as follows. When an action potential travels to the synapse, the rapid depolarization causes calcium ion channels to open. Calcium is normally low inside the cell and calcium enters from outside the cell via open calcium channels into the nerve endings. Calcium then stimulates the transport of hundreds of vesicles to the synaptic membrane. The vesicles and cell membranes fuse, leading to the release of packaged neurotransmitters. The neurotransmitter then diffuses across the synaptic cleft to bind to receptors on adjacent cells. This complex process is inhibited by the neurotoxin tetanospasmin, responsible for tetanus, and botulinum toxin, which is responsible for botulism. When acetylcholine binds to acetylcholine receptors on skeletal muscle fibers, it opens ligand-gated sodium channels in the membrane. Sodium ions then enter the muscle cell, stimulating muscle contraction. Acetylcholine induces increased contraction of skeletal muscles, while it induces decreased contraction in cardiac muscle fibers. Acetylcholine binds only briefly to the pre or postsynaptic receptors. Once dissociated from the receptors, acetylcholine is rapidly hydrolyzed by the enzyme acetylcholinesterase (ACHE). This enzyme converts acetylcholine into the inactive metabolites choline and acetate. Acetylcholinesterase has a very high catalytic rate. 10,000 molecules of acetylcholine can be hydrolyzed in 1 second by 1 molecule of this enzyme. Thus, it rapidly clears the free acetylcholine from the synapse to quickly reduce the stimulus to the muscle. Hence, it is essential for proper muscle function. Some poisons inactivate acetylcholinesterase to prevent this control, such as the nerve agents like sarin and tabun, and insecticides like diazinon and malathion. Electrical synapses also exist, although they are rare in vertebrate nervous systems. In an electrical synapse or gap junction, the presynaptic and postsynaptic membranes are partially fused. This allows the action potential to cross from the membrane of one neuron to the next, without the intervention of a neurotransmitter. Transmission from electrical synapses is not direction specific like chemical synapses and may transmit a signal in either direction. During biological activity, electrical synapses do not have the potential for as much variation as do chemical synapses. Each neuron connects with numerous other neurons, often receiving multiple impulses from them. Sometimes a single excitatory postsynaptic potential EPSP is strong enough to induce an action potential in the postsynaptic neuron, but often multiple presynaptic inputs must create EPSPs around the same time for the postsynaptic neuron to be sufficiently depolarized to fire an action potential. Summation is the addition of these impulses at the axon hillock. Together, synaptic summation and the threshold for excitation acts as a filter so that random signals in the system are not transmitted as important information. Signal summation is of two types: spatial summation and temporal summation. Spatial summation. Spatial summation means that the effects of impulses received at different places on the neuron add up so that the neuron may fire when such impulses are received simultaneously, even if each impulse on its own would not be sufficient to cause firing. Temporal summation. Temporal summation means that the effects of impulses received at the same place can add up if the impulses are received in close temporal succession. Thus, the neuron may fire when multiple impulses are received, even if each impulse on its own would not be sufficient to cause firing. One of the most important features of chemical synapses is that they are the site of action for the majority of psychoactive drugs. Synapses are affected by drugs such as curare, strychnine, cocaine, morphine, alcohol, LSD and countless others. These drugs have different effects on synaptic function and often are restricted to synapses that use a specific neurotransmitter. For example, curare is a poison that stops acetylcholine from depolarizing the postsynaptic membrane, causing paralysis. Strychnine blocks off the inhibitory effects of the neurotransmitter glycine, which causes the body to pick up and react to weaker and previously ignored stimuli, resulting in uncontrollable muscle spasms. Morphine acts on synapses that use endorphin neurotransmitters, and alcohol increases the inhibitory effects of the neurotransmitter GABA. LSD interferes with synapses that use the neurotransmitter serotonin. Cocaine blocks uptake of dopamine and therefore increases its effects. Conclusion: one of the most important factors of survival value in natural selection is the capacity of animals to obtain and coordinate information from the environment. Information can be internal like hunger, pain, temperature and orientation of body, or external like visual, auditory, tactile and olfactory. Animals have developed a nervous system to conduct this information to the brain and spinal cord via neurons. The fundamental function of neurons is the transmission of signals from sense organs to the CNS, central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord, and from the CNS to effector organs. This communication needs to be fast, and it is achieved with the help of action potentials. For example, if you burn your fingers, it is important that your brain gets the message to withdraw your hand very quickly. Thus, not only is the nervous system responsible for the coordination with the internal and external stimuli, it is also crucial to our survival.